Good evening and welcome to Sports Tonight. I'm Sammy Jonas. Tonight's guests have joined me to turn a critical eye on the events that happened July 31st, 1973. On this 40th anniversary, we wanted to spend some time remembering the tragic events that happened that evening.
Yeah, I remember that day. It's back when a fight really meant something. My dad used to take me. About what we had in common was the fights. You know, going to watch Jason the Ripper Johnson and Brian Rabbit punch McLaren.
I really wish I would have been there to see it. McLaren came in with a quick punch and then Ripper. Oh man.
The thing that's really interesting about that fight is that nobody knew how it was going to end. No one that is except for the Ripper.
You know, I've seen it 1,000 times. He came in there, one lunge, and it was all over. It was done.
There was a lot of confusion at first. At least that's the way it seems from the pictures. But when everyone settled down and they had mopped away some of the excess fluff, it was pretty clear something had gone terribly wrong.
Yeah, they fought that day, but only one of them came out.
Tragedy in the ring. The defining moment that nearly led to the end of all sanctioned fighting, when Jason Johnson brutally tore the stuffing from Brian McLaren.
Fighting really took a blow that day, and for my money, I wouldn't have bet that it'd come back. But some things, those things with the real enduring human spirit, they just can't stay gone forever.
Now, today's fights, got all those mamsy-pamsies out there with their makeup and their fancy pants. It's just not the same as it was. No heart, no guts.
I love going to the fights. My favorite is King Wing. He is such an amazing athlete. I actually saw him climb up to the rafters and do a full half gainer onto the Crimson Camel. It was unbelievable.
So, how do you think the Crimson Camel survived?
I think he was like stuffing his lumps or something.
What do you think really happened that day in the ring?
You know, back then when I was young and naive, there's nothing you could have said that would make me believe Old Ripper was a cheater. But looking back on it, the facts, he had to have been doing some tumbling.
Tumbling is a dangerous way to get an edge. The fighter literally has to build up a charge in his own body.
And how does he do that?
Well, it's pretty deplorable, but the fighter will actually subject himself to 20 or more minutes in the super dry cycle with extra fluffy socks.
I assume that they leave out the dryer sheets.
Well, that would defeat the entire purpose of getting into the dryer in the first place.
Seen here for the first time in a Sports Tonight exclusive is Ripper appearing to engage in tumbling. Those close to him insist that he was only using the machine for legitimate purposes, but perhaps more damning was our conversation with one of Ripper's stuffing suppliers. He's asked us to hide his face to conceal his identity, as he is still, today, a prominent figure in fighting circles.
So you know for sure that the Ripper was stuffing?
Yeah, I got the stuff for him and helped stitch him up when he couldn't do it himself.
And do other fighters get their stuff from you?
Yeah, but I don't stop them because it helps keep them safe. We don't want a repeat performance of what happened to the rabbit.
There are some who might say that you contributed to the rabbit's death.
Well, those people would be wrong. All I did was give everyone an equal footing to stand on. You can't hold that against me.
Shouldn't you take some responsibility for your actions? You could help stop these things from happening.
No, I don't think that I could. Look, you don't have the right to judge me. I'm a professional. If it weren't for me, there wouldn't be... Look, let's call it a day. I can't do this.
When we originally contacted the Rabbits' trainer and coach, Jim Davis, he declined to take part in the interview. But just before our deadline, he reached out to us and asked us to let him share his side of the story.
There isn't a day that I don't think about what happened to Brian. I should have seen that Ripper was tumbling. It was so lightning fast. And it was gone.
What would you do differently?
I let Brian stop and tumble. He tried to tell me that Ripper was into that stuff, but I didn't want to believe him. Maybe I could have even stopped the fight. But it was just so much money. It was so much money. It was so much.
Today, fighters are heavily regulated. A certain amount of stuffing is allowed to protect the fighters, and though it's not confirmed, a great deal of the action is rumored to be carefully scripted and choreographed. Modern fights attract more fans like Mitzi Fitzgibbons and fewer old-timers like Nicholas Drin.
Thank you for joining us for this Sports Tonight retrospective. We would like to take this time to send out our condolences for the families still struggling with this tragedy, and also to thank the fighters as they breathe life into this sport. The SAFL is still as much alive today as it was in the past, which is more than can be said for Brian the Rabbit McLaren.